Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can
No,
you
I'm
give
not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir. I'm Dr. Dave Chanda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today, and thank you for networking this information to anyone and everyone you know and love. The more people educated with the facts, the truth, the data, and when needed, the science, well, the more people become empowered. And the more people become empowered, the sooner we end this reign of terror that is not accidental, it's not coincidental, and it's not from incompetence. It's willful. The sooner we end this reign of terror perpetrated by the globalist cult. And they are a cult. Frankly, the good news is there are not that many of them. They want you to think there are millions of them, but in fact there aren't. There's relatively a small group, maybe a couple, 3, 4, and most 5,000 around the world that are truly the power center of that cult. Yeah, they have their little puppets here and there. You know, all the 99.9% of politicians in every legislature and every Congress and every government in the world, they're not high level. They're middle level puppets who are expendable to the hierarchy. And in particular, the top of the pyramid, the bankster families. We'll name them again. It really upsets them when I do this, so why not? The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Lazards, the Pinkuses, the Warburgs, the Seifs, the Loebs. At the very top, the Payseur, Payseur family. Yeah. They're the only ones who in their world matter to them. We just had the death of Jacob Rothschild, who is now burning in hell. You know, the only problem with that, wouldn't it be interesting if we could have video, we have video documentation everywhere. Wouldn't it be interesting if we had video documentation of Jacob Rothschild and all the Rothschilds that preceded him, and David Rockefeller and all the Rockefellers who preceded him, and Hank Kissinger and the other globalists? Just documentation that, yeah, you know what? Burn, baby, burn. But they are. And these perpetrators up the food chain, sending the messages down to their minions in governments and in the big banking syndicate around the world, the order's been given to take down the financial system. Take it down. Why would they do that if they're benefiting from it? Because when you create utter chaos, when they've done this in the past, they always get more power, control, and more financial resources. So as they bring the financial buildings down in their footprints, sound familiar? And I believe this is the year that that's going to happen. I think what you're going to see is they're going to say, just as they did with this and this, oh, we have a solution for you. Just trust us. It's safe. It's going to be very effective, this financial solution. They're called central bank digital currencies, where we control it all. And you lose all your freedom, but you're going to be happy. Or we're going to create this basket of currencies called SDR, special drawing rights, and, well, we're going to control all those currencies in it, but you'll still be happy, and we'll control it all. Now, all they need is a diversion and a spark to bring it down. And that's what they're in the process of doing. And today's discussion are going to be about the financials of weapons of mass destruction. Financial weapons of mass destruction center on, and the arms of them, of the components of that WMD, are government puppets, false data generated by government agencies, debt, DEBT. Remember, they love debt. They love to put you in debt because it makes you an indentured servant. derivatives, all components of the financial WMD, legislation that they put in place to benefit them and hurt all of us, the useless eaters, as Henry Kissinger used to call us, and they manipulate markets. And you add all those components together and you get a weapon of mass destruction. So their diversion that they've used in the past is war. Fund both sides, create chaos, create conflict. Millions of useless eaters die in those wars. That's good to them, bad for us, but good for them, as they see it. And they launder a lot of money through the system. And if you don't believe that, just look at what's been happening over in that whole Russia-Ukraine thing, right? Talk about a money laundering operation. Thank the American taxpayers for their beneficial $100 and some billion dollars that could have well been spent elsewhere to help others in our country. No. We're going to launder it through Ukraine. So a lot of it ends up coming back to the very people who put legislation in place because they care about democracy and freedom and liberty. Yeah, right. And then tied to the wars, they have these policies they create to help further bring down the system. Example, Russia goes into Ukraine in February 2022. In March of 2022, the United States federal government in the West confiscated $300 billion worth of assets from Russia. Oh, well, that'll show them. Actually, it showed the rest of the world that if you don't go along with the United States, in particular, and for the most part the West, well, your assets are not safe. So all those other countries were watching this and go, wait a minute, if they're willing to do this to Russia that has nukes, what are they going to do to my little country? My country's gold is sitting over in those government coffers in the United States. I think I better get it back. Right now, a congressman from West Virginia, Representative Mooney, petitioned the Fed and said exactly how much of foreign gold has been brought back to their own countries. The Fed refuses to answer. Refuses to answer. Why? Because it would show that policy that was implemented in March of 2022 has led to a huge drain of, along with silver, gold being the best financial insurance policy in times of trouble. It's been shown for that for thousands of years. Well, as bad as that policy was in March of 2022, it didn't show anybody anything. And what it did is it brought these BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, which has now included Saudi Arabia and Iran and the United Arab Emirates and 41 other countries that want to join. It led to them developing a payment system outside of what's called the SWIFT system, which Russia was blocked from using a payment system for trade around the world. And it led to them to develop the baseline, the foundation of a trading currency that has nothing to do with the dollar. Say bye-bye to the reserve currency of the dollar. A trading currency that's backed in hard assets, gold, silver, gas, natural gas, you name what, I don't know, edible commodities, soybeans, wheat, corn, right? So as bad as that policy was, because they got to bring the financial system down because their overlords have told them to do that, U.S. Senate recently panel backs a, quote, big hammer plan to seize Russian assets to help Ukraine. A U.S. Senate committee approved legislation that would help set the stage for the United States to confiscate Russian assets and hand them, not just freeze them, confiscate and hand them over to Ukraine to carry out their war against Russia. Can you imagine Putin's response. Can you imagine the BRICS countries' response to this? Buy, dollar. Buy the financial system that all of us know. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee voted 20-1. Wait a minute. I thought there were a bunch of Republicans on that committee. There are. One political party, the Republicrats, owned and operated by a criminal syndicate, that being the banksters. I've told you that for 14 years on the radio. Got a lot of heat for that, but it's true. Senate Foreign Relations voted 21 to favor the unprecedented rebuild. Whatever an act is billed as, it's always the opposite. Rebuilding Economic Prosperity and Opportunity for Ukrainians Act. Yeah, okay. Now it's going to the House of Representatives, the Senate floor, and then the House of Representatives, and then President, I can't use it. Then Joe Biden has said he will sign it into law. The act would pave the way for Washington's first ever seizure of central bank assets from a country. And then, Janet Yellen, the Secretary of Treasury, wow, what a piece of work she is, urges world leaders to unlock frozen Russian central bank assets and send them to Ukraine. So not just the United States, let's everybody jump in this pool of manure. Right. Government puppets, part of the WMD. Their policies, their legislation, part of the financial WMD. And then we got debt. Credit card delinquency surged in 2023, indicated financial stress. Credit card delinquency surged more than 50% in 2023. Powell, the head of the Fed, the whole bankster whole organization, right? The U.S. is on an unsustainable fiscal path due to debt. In fact, the United States government is creating $1 trillion worth of debt every 100 days to prop up the imploding economy. Oh, the economy's fine. Well, no. Actually, that's where you get to their government fraud with their data, another component of the financial WMD. Another component, derivatives, bets. Not investments, bets. And when they go the wrong way, 5 Wall Street banks, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, Goldman, Bank of America, and Morgan Stanley hold $223 trillion, with a T, dollars in derivatives. Oh dear. This is from Russ and Pam Martins, the best reporters on Wall Street, by the way. Those same 5 bank holding companies control 96% of the most dangerous form of derivatives, credit derivatives. There isn't $223 trillion to backstop those derivative bets, folks, in the world. By far. More debt. 80% of commercial mortgage-backed securities, commercial real estate, loans are at risk this year for default. Well, you add all that up, folks, and you have weapons of mass destruction. And then you add in what these puppets do to take the system down further. In 1933, because of the Great Depression, there was an act that was introduced called the Glass-Steagall Act that separated the commercial banking side of a bank's business from their, quote, investment or derivative side. Okay? So that if the investment derivative side went bad, it would not adversely affect the savings side. You want a good example of that? There is a free video I have up on our website, davejanda.com. It's in a red box. It's called Janda's Fight for Freedom. It's my family's 4-generational fight. It goes back to my great-grandfather and what happened and how the government took his business in 1907 and 1908 because there was no Glass-Steagall Act. The banking system went down. On the investment side, it affected the savings side that froze all the savings of businesses and people. And it destroyed people. And you need to listen to that because it also talks about how our family was saved. There's some acts. There's some actions. You need to watch that. Well, the Glass-Steagall Act made it so that there weren't these huge bumps, ups and downs in the economy. And there were some, but not major. And then good old Billy Clinton in 1999 and Congress repealed it so that banks could have their investment arms linked. That's what led to the crash of 2007 and 2008. And that is what's going to bring the entire system down. Add to that the increasing use of derivatives. As I said, just 5 banks, $223 trillion. There's something that was also passed as Clinton walked out the door. Right after the election, while that whole Bush-Gore thing was going on, there's something that he did and got pushed through called the Commodities Futures Modernization Act that essentially made it so that derivatives, if they went bad, all derivatives, not just farmers on hedging, or manufacturers hedging in whatever commodity they use the most of, but all derivatives were to be treated the same. And then you had something called the Dodd-Frank Act that Obama implemented, which gave derivatives, when they went bad, the holders on the other side, it gave them super priority over people and their assets. And then there's something that occurred at the state level that I cannot speak about on social media platforms or on the radio. Because if I even mention the initials, I will be permanently banned on social media platforms, every one of them, and our radio station, Wham Talk 1600, will be taken down. I did a special presentation on this on our WTF show, a What the Fudge show, that I do for subscribers on a weekly basis. I recently spoke about this in depth. It puts people years ahead of the curve. Well, the way it's going, months ahead of the curve. Because every state has essentially codified what these puppets have done from 1999 and 2000 and 2010 and brought it to the state level so that when the system comes down, the banksters have complete access to your savings, to your cash in your checking accounts, savings accounts, to your stock positions, to your bond positions, to your 401k, and to your IRA. That's not fear porn. It's putting you ahead of the curve. Folks, they have rigged this system to come down. What did Klaus Schwab say? And people thought, that's hyperbole. You'll own nothing and be happy. You might own nothing because that's their goal, but sure won't be happy. Their goal is to get every person's piece of private property that has anything associated with debt. This is why people like Rob Kirby, God rest his soul, Ed Steer, Craig Hemke, Adriana Reed, Drader Stapp have come on our show, on our platform, and spoken about, and why I've done a lot of segments individually on this. Your single greatest insurance policy is something that doesn't have debt, DEBT, associated with it when this financial weapon of mass destruction implodes. Something they can't zero out by hitting a key. As my dad, Ben Janda, used to say, if you hold it, you own it. Physical gold and physical silver are your single greatest insurance policies to these weapons of financial weapons of mass destruction. I know it's not as sexy as some kind of, I don't know, you name it, cryptocurrency. But it's what stood the time over thousands of years, and it's something the cult does not want you to do and know about. Which tells you it's exactly what you need to do. I hope you'll join us at davejanda.com. We are there for you 24/7. We hope you become part of our Freedom family by subscribing to the premium service content and email service, which will put you months, years, some cases a decade, ahead of this curve that has been created by the globalist that ends in the brick wall. With the shattering of your freedoms, your liberties, your future, your life, and our constitutional republic, and we provide you that off-ramp long before that brick wall is there. We hope you become part of our Freedom family. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.